Hello. We are here. We're here.
Hey, I think I've just heard something on the YouTube there.
Yes, we're working. I don't know what that was. OBS just decided to fuck me over.
Testes. It's an update.
Probably.
Testes 1 2. Testes.
Testicle 1 2 1 2.
Yeah.
Missed the music.
All there.
Hold on a minute. How can Marco Coletti Spaghetti say that nice intro TBH if he couldn't hear us? Oh, is it because there was no sound? That could have been why he said that.
The Hitler version of that would be Testy 1.
Testy Clay.
He only had one, and he did.
Oh,
so yeah, it wasn't a joke.
Hold on, let me just check.
So anyway, back on the pro LGBT podcast.
No, intro would have been playing. The music would have been playing, but I think nobody heard what we were saying.
We were talking about. We don't. Yeah. So anyway, on the pro LGBT podcast, where we're talking about gay icon Jeffrey Dahmer, I found something ancillary to Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's this article called "Art and Crime: John Podesta, His Headless Statue, and Some Possible Interpretations."
That's a direct copy of one of the Polaroids they found from his apartment, isn't it?
So it's a lot of bump. There's a gold statue of a headless figure contorted at an odd angle.
Hang on. Is that an impression of Hobbit?
So, at least your voice sounds all right on YouTube. It just sounds fucked on the program what you use to communicate.
Well, it's Discord.
Now,
Discord being wank again.
Discord.
I'll try and read out the pertinent paragraphs from this because there's a lot of gumph. John Podesta owns a strange-looking headless statue of a man that bears an odd resemblance to one of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims. The statue contorted in the same way the body was discovered.
Was it discovered?
We are confronted.
I thought it was from one of Jeffrey Dahmer's. There's a picture of it. I thought it was from one of Jeffrey Dahmer's Polaroids.
So anyway,
it is journalism, so they're probably right.
We are confronted in the case of this art with what prosecutors most hate to present a jury: a series of strange coincidences from which they're encouraged to draw a conclusion. Perhaps this article itself is entirely useless. Certainly I have found in so many discussions since the American elections in the summer of 2016 and all surrounding that, with its competing hysterical narratives.
Why did Jeffrey Dahmer move to a larger apartment? He needed more leg room. Did you know that Jeffrey Dahmer was a smoker? They found a pile of butts behind his couch.
With competing hysterical narratives from both the mainstream and alternative press and from ordinary Americans of all stripes, it's difficult to convince anyone of anything if they're not ready to move beyond the comfort. Okay. So now, what salient points there?
Jeffrey Dahmer was a big BLM fan, weren't he? Because he did take a knee, didn't he?
Yeah, I can say with authority that the process of producing it is cathartic and healthy. Shrinks of all stripes advocate patients to write of their experiences to help achieve closure and perspective on the trauma of your life. Even writers and artists who insist that their art, or even all art, must never be seen as a form of therapy, would admit that making art feels good, and perhaps the artist and hopefully the audience to understand one or two things about the difficult problems we confront in life. None of that's controversial, except my pronunciation of controversial. And again, I myself own some disturbing art in the form of the covers of my books, which depict strange, fantastical creatures in dark settings. I believe it's
pronounced controversial.
Yeah, for me, my writing and choosing to display the artwork associated with it is a symbol of some public aspect of my psychological makeup, that I am interested in the dark side of human nature, I believe is something to teach us. So yeah, John Podesta, why do you have a statue what looks like one of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims?
Was it hanging up by its... That would make a better coffee table. I think if you put it sideways, I think it'd make a better coffee table.
It's a bit like there's that modern art of Myra Hindley, isn't there? Which is a print of that famous photo made out of children's hands.
Nice. Did you hear that Jeffrey Dahmer had a kid while in prison? It was his last meal.
Too far. Johnny Depp bought one of Gacy's paintings, didn't he?
Marco Coletti Spaghetti again. When he's not trying to drive nationalism into the gutter, he's making crass jokes about gay icon Jeffrey Dahmer.
LGBT icon Jeffrey Dahmer.
With this big nose.
Before we get too far into Jeffrey Dahmer, Ian, have you watched Halloween Ends yet?
I haven't. No, I will see it. I wouldn't mind if you've seen it. It doesn't matter really, does it? As long as we get to see it, just to complete the.
It's if you know your horror films, it sounds like they've stolen the plot of Friday the 13th Part 5.
Someone goes around killing people with a mask on and a knife. Yeah. That's generally the plot, isn't it, of these films?
Oh, no. It's quite specific. You obviously, it's where someone goes around pretending to be Jason. I've just ruined it for anybody.
Yeah. I have heard that, but...
No, spoilers!
Spoilers, there you go. Oh, no.
Oh, spoilers!
But I'm sure it's not the end. I'm sure we'll get another one in the future.
And then Iron Man
come back to life through the power of interpretive fear.
And then Iron Man says, well, that happened. And then the Hulk did a smash, and the smash hit Michael Myers. And then Michael Myers exploded, but in a PG-13 way.
Have you seen
other Avengers were there?
Have you seen what they're doing to the
And the She-Hulk said she did a fart, and the fart made the building come down. That's how much it happened. She-Hulk was very good.
It was talk.
I recommend She-Hulk to everybody.
Okay.
You should watch every episode.
Hobbit, can you hear
and
anybody?
enjoy it for the... Yes, I can.
Yeah. Anyway, so
you occasionally.
There is talk.
Excuse me, guys. Mic test. Dahmer, chameleon.
Hobbit, listen to Heavy. No, Alphabet Cat, you don't understand. If I don't just steamroll through what everybody else is saying, I will forget what it is. And I've got important points to make about gay icon Jeffrey Dahmer.
There's a dick in the kettle. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
All in all,
we can do Dahmer-based 80s hits. Okay?
We can make an album.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of the Pink Floyd classic. All in all, you're just another dick in the kettle. Hobbit's volume on 200%. Everybody else is on 1%.
No, but back to the Halloween. There has been talk for some years of a Halloween versus Hellraiser crossover. That would be quite good, as in Freddy versus Jason, Batman versus Superman, that kind of shit. Well, it doesn't matter though, does it? As long as it's something.
Michael Myers should just go back to being a plain old nutter.
Well, yeah, there's only so far it's only so far you can go with that idea, isn't it? If you want to make more films, then there has to be a supernatural.
Angus Scrim is dead now, so there'll never be a Hellraiser versus Phantasm crossover.
That would actually work. That would work.
Hellraiser would work. There's always more Cenobites they can invent and use the Pinhead.
How about Avengers versus
Pinhead?
Hellraiser?
Pinhead is a woman in the new one, isn't it?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Is she a black woman in a wheelchair?
No, but I'm surprised.
You know what would make a good Cenobite is Nikocado for Avocado.
He could be Butterball, couldn't he? The fat one's called Butterball, isn't
he? Yeah, but no, it's got Avocado Butterball.
The Chatterer.
That was me back in the Speed days.
Jazz Jennings could be a Cenobite, couldn't she? What's gone on downstairs? Neither out the summits.
I think the
Butcher's block down there.
Most of the Halloween films are watchable, but Hellraiser after the second one, I've got to admit they're not very good. I've not seen any of the new ones either. There's been two recently, but
I watched the first
straight to DVD
films. They were pretty good. Candyman 1's really good.
Purple Aki Man.
Well, you know the problem with Hellraiser, they never did Hellraiser in the Hood, Hellraiser in space, or...
Oh, can you imagine Hellraiser in Las Vegas? No, Leprechaun in Las Vegas is more fitting.
It was Pinhead was in a disco, wasn't he? And he picked
even
up
Jason's
the CDs being played,
Yeah.
and threw them at people.
Has anyone seen Jason X, the one where he's in space?
No, I've not seen many Jason ones, because I think they're probably just too similar to Halloween. If you've seen Halloween, I'm sure.
The thing with Jason is they fully embraced it, so it was all about the more and more inventive kills.
He didn't have the hockey mask, did he, in the first film? But that came in later.
He didn't have the part because it was Pamela Voorhees in the first one.
Yeah.
I think it was Jason Part 3 when he gets the hockey.
The thing is with that though, whereas Halloween, really, the good thing about that first Halloween film is you don't see the kills. You think you do. There's very little blood or anything. It's not very graphic at all. It's just all suspense. And when the kills happen, they're either off screen or you don't see a lot. Whereas Friday the 13th made it more explicit. That's why Halloween 2 is more explicit because by the time
Kevin Bacon on the bed where he gets the arrow through his chest.
Well, apparently, on Pornhub, there's behind the scenes of Cockraiser, Hellraiser XXX parody.
Has he got cocks sticking out of his head instead of pins?
They look like syringes to me.
There's also, I think, another parody called Edward Penis Hands.
That was good. That one.
Yeah.
When he started doing too much, he was doing too much drugs, and his hands drooped, didn't they?
The Sexorcist.
The Sexorcist. Jeff
Snow
Dahmer.
White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Dahmer.
I kind of like Tromeo's films because they're self-parodies. Like Tromeo and Juliet's got... Terra Firma, I think, is my favourite one because even that...
The Class of Nukem High is the Troma film as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's... Oh, is that the one where they massacre the retards? Oh no, there's a rebel retard, that's it, and he joins like the criminals and he starts machine gunning his classmates. Or no, I'm getting this confused with Toxic Avenger 4, Citizen Toxie. I don't know. All the Troma films kind of blur one into one another. I just remember Terra Firma being one of the better ones.
Hang on. Is Toxie the guy with the broom who says, "I hope I don't get hurt"?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. His name's Melvin.
Did you know Marvel did a comic series of the Toxic Avenger back in the day?
Yeah, there was also a you know how there was a RoboCop cartoon which was made for kids. Yeah. They did a made for kids Toxic Crusaders with Toxie like leading what looks like the Captain Planet kids. But to sweep up crime in town.
You know what they really need? A made-for-kids school curriculum. Doesn't include
Rambo cartoon. I never saw any of it, but there was a Rambo cartoon as well, weren't there? Because in the 80s, it was a great idea to make 18 certificate films kid-friendly.
Yeah, I think there was a Starship Troopers one as well.
Right.
But the last Rambo, what was it, about 2008, wasn't it? Is that right? It was one quite recent times.
There was Last Blood, wasn't there?
That one's very graphic, isn't it? They're using CGI though for the kills, people having their heads blown off and what have you. Arrow through the head, wasn't it?
The RoboCop cartoon was really rubbish because he used to run out of power all the time. I don't know if you remember that. He's got, oh no, my batteries have run out. OBS crashed again.
Bollocks.
Back now.
Are we? It looks still buffering at my end.
No, we're back. We're back now.
We? All right then.
Yeah, we're back. We're back. OBS. I think I might use StreamYards instead of regular OBS because this is unacceptable now.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Yeah.
Well, shall we continue the tale then from 2 weeks ago?
What we've been putting off.
Before we were rudely interrupted by Loch Ness land sightings last week. So we can kick off with the 1991.
You, me, Dom.
Well, if you, I'll tell you what. I'll kick off. Then you, Dom, and Hobbit decide what bits you're going to do.
Yeah,
make sure you're on the same.
And then I'll take over.
I'll kick off then. So yeah, I think so. 2 weeks ago, if
you're definitely gonna pronounce Conorak Synth.
Yeah, I'll have a go at that. But yeah, anyway, about 2 weeks ago, I don't know if anyone remembers. I doubt anyone was paying attention, but we got up to about the adventures of Dahmer up until about 1991. So we're going to kick off tonight with his killings from 91 onwards. So I don't know if you can recap at some point what went on previously, but let's start.
Previously on Dahmer, he murdered some people.
Anyway,
he was a bit weird, and his mum used to do sleepers and laxatives for some strange reason.
And went to live with his granny. Dahmer, the cop who likes to do things
I still can't get over the. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do sleepers and laxatives because that's gonna end well.
Yeah.
I think the laxatives made him what he was. If it wasn't for the laxatives, he'd be a.
Well, that was his mum. She used to go to bed. She hopped up on laxatives and laxatives and sleepers.
I think he got hooked on bad smells.
Yeah.
From that.
Then you'll be asleep, so the smell won't bother you.
Dom's cracked
But anyway.
the code. Dom's cracked the code. He's broken the case wide open.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's just do a bit of this anyway before we run out of time, and we haven't even started.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's look at this. So in February 1991, Dahmer observed a 17-year-old named Curtis Strager standing at
More
the
like
bus stop.
Slaughter, am I right?
No, Strager, but yeah. Marquette, near the so you saw a 17-year-old near the bus stop at Marquette University. Echoes of Fred West there, isn't there? He used to like to prey at young women stood at the bus stop, offer them a lift, and then smash their heads in. Anyway, according to Dahmer, he lured Stranger into his apartment with an offer for money to pose for nude photos, with the added incentive of sexual intercourse. Dahmer drugged Strager, cuffed his hands behind his back, then strangled him to death with a leather strap. He then dismembered Stranger, retaining the youth's skull.
Do you really want to strangle someone to death with a leather strap? You want something like string, don't you? Right.
I don't know. The leather wouldn't break, though, would it? That's the thing. It'd be a pretty strong. But yeah, it would be, I suppose, a strap. It would be a wider area, so the pressure would be a bit, wouldn't be focused as much. So it probably. A bit of leather rope would be better. He's just making hard
work for himself there, isn't he?
Yeah, probably just enjoyed it, just taking his time. A bit like what Michael Hutchins did on that.
Who was that other
Sydney
murderer?
hotel.
I can't remember which one it was, but he used to strangle them, let them breathe a bit, strangle them, let them breathe a bit, and he'd kind of do it for hours. But I can't remember which.
Yeah,
the Suffolk Strangler.
Was it?
If you're into that, that's the best method. But if you're into like killing them quickly, I reckon cheese wire would be the best.
Yeah, or just a gun to the head. That would be the best.
Well, you don't want to do that.
That's what the criminals.
Literally, no one in that apartment block gave a fuck, so he probably could have done that.
Yeah, and that's what James Bond's enemy should have done. Not put him on some kind of contraption which will kill him eventually by lowering him to some sharks and then leave the room. Shoot him in the head. Job done. But anyway. Same with Batman as well. He used to have that, didn't he, at the end of every program, beyond some device which was going to kill him. But anyway, never mind. So anyway, where was I? So he retained the youth's skull, hands, and genitals, and photographing each stage of the dismembering process. Less than 2 months later, on April 7th, the day after my birthday, Dahmer encountered a 19-year-old named Errol Lindsay walking to get a key cut. Lindsay was heterosexual. Dahmer lured Lindsay into his apartment where he drugged him.
He wouldn't have been arrested.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later.
But anyway, and what hole did he want access to? He was drugged and drilled a hole into his skull and poured hydraulic acid into it. According to Dahmer, hydrochloric acid. Lindsay awoke after his experiment, which Dahmer had conceived in the hope of including a permanent, unresistant, submissive state, saying, "I have a headache. What time is it?" In response to this, Dahmer again drugged Lindsay, then strangled him. Decapitated Lindsay, retained his skull, flayed Lindsay's body, placing the skin in a solution of cold water and salt for several weeks in the hope of permanently retaining it.
He's not much of a scientist, is he? You don't. That's not how you make leather. You don't make leather by soaking it, do you?
Also, I see karaoke has come in with a interesting angle to the Dahmer problem.
Nice. Reluctantly disposed of Lindsay's skin when he noticed that it had become too frayed and brittle. So that's interesting, isn't it? Maybe he could have got in the skin, which is what I believe someone did in the Hellraiser, in one of the Hellraisers. I think it was Hellraiser 2.
What's the name?
Julia's skin.
Frank.
The young girl got into Julia's skin, wasn't it? Yeah.
Frank did it first. He wore Kirsty's dad's skin, didn't he?
Then he lured her back in the second film. It was the other guy.
Yeah. She was in Julia's. Someone was in Julia's skin, wasn't they? I can't remember. I just remember that thing
after she killed Claire, didn't she? Is it Claire? Is it Julia? Oh, I thought it was Claire. I thought her name was Claire. Is it Claire?
The actress who played her.
I'm confused now. Hold on. Keep talking.
And she hasn't fared well. But anyway. 1991, fellow residents of the Oxford apartments had repeatedly complained to the building's manager, Soper Princewell, of the foul smells emitting from apartment 213, in addition to the sounds of falling objects and the occasional sound of a chainsaw. Princewell contacted Dahmer in response to these complaints on several occasions, although he had initially excused the odours emitting from his apartment as being caused by his freezer breaking, causing the contents to become spoiled. On later occasions, he informed Princewell that the reason for the resurgence of the odour was that several of his tropical fish had recently died, and that would take care of the matter. Well, don't you flush the fish? I remember my fish died and I flushed it in the toilet. So did you not do that? Well, your small fish, and the big fish, you eat them. Anyway.
It's unbelievable. Addition of falling objects and the occasional sound of a chainsaw. Literally did not give a fuck, did he, Dahmer?
Yeah.
So many times I think, oh my god, what is that smell? It smells like someone's neglected their tropical fish tank.
Anyway, on the 24th of May 1991, Dahmer encountered 31-year-old aspiring model Tony Hughes in a nightclub. That's a bit old, isn't it, for Dahmer and for an aspiring model, 31. Yeah. Anyway, he was lured into Dahmer's apartment with an offer of money to pose for photographs. Hughes was also drugged into unconsciousness before Dahmer injected hydrochloric acid into his skull in an effort to disable.
Where the fuck did he get this idea that hydrochloric acid turns you into a zombie? Where the fuck did he get this idea from?
The last guy woke up with a headache or so, yeah.
Oh, fucking hell.
He thought this would disable his will and render him submissive, although on this occasion the drilling and injection proved fatal. No, it worked that time.
Really?
Yeah.
Drilling into someone's head and injecting hydrochloric acid kills them. Fucking hell.
Did the job.
Also, 31 isn't really too old to be an aspiring model. Just needed OnlyFans back then.
Yeah.
What was he going to be?
A
model? Like, he weren't going to be like 31. It's just ridiculous. He needs to. Is it an aspiring model, as in like all these criminals that get shot are aspiring rappers?
This is reminding me of Driller Killer, that film. Did you see that one?
I've never seen the whole film, but I've seen the start and it makes me laugh because everything he has to do to get a portable drill up and running.
Was of the day, that was one of the video nasties, wasn't it? That was a video nasty. Had a bit of a, along with the Evil Dead and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Shit, aren't they? The video nasty.
Yeah, to be honest.
Anyway. I mean, that's an episode in itself. The tools that killers use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, or the tool in the kettle.
What's that one with like the medieval, where they pit the medieval warrior versus like a Roman or something like that? Like we'll do that, like Dahmer versus. We should do. Dahmer versus Gacy, round 1.
Ninja versus Samurai and all that. Yeah, I remember that series. Yeah,
we'll have to work out who could beat up her, because it'd have to be Dahmer versus Dennis Nielsen, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And Dahmer versus Superman.
Who would win in a fight, Dahmer or Dennis Nielsen?
Depends who drinks what. because it's whoever blacks out first gets violent and kills people.
Do you remember
Nielsen?
What was the Plasticine one? That used to be on MTV with the people fighting each other. Celebrity Deathmatch. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Fourth. No. But Nielsen was Scottish, wasn't he? So they're supposed to be hard, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
He'll give him the old Glasgow kiss.
Yeah. And show him his sporran. Anyway, all right then. Let's go on to the next. Let's go on to the next murder. So, on the afternoon of May the 24th, 1991, Dahmer encountered 14-year-old Leo teenager named Konorak Synthesizer synth something in the middle, then phone synthasm phone synthasm phone. Fucking hell.
Synthesized phone.
It sounds like it sounds a bit like I imagine it plays a bit like the theremin.
Well, get the idea anyway.
Is it synthesizer phone? Is that when you're playing a saw with a bow?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. So anyway, so he was on Wisconsin. There I can't say anything. Wisconsin Avenue. Unknown to Dahmer, Konorak was the younger brother of the boy whom he molested in 1988.
You would have thought he'd remember that surname, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he approached the teenager with an offer of money to accompany him to his apartment. Right, I'm noticing to pose for Polaroid pictures. So there's a pattern emerging, isn't there, over what he does. According to Dahmer, Konorak was initially reluctant to the proposal before changing his mind and accompanying him to his apartment, where he posed for 2 pictures in his underwear before Dahmer drugged him into unconsciousness and performed oral sex on him.
How did he do the drugging? It's just like it's bam in the apartment, bam, he's out.
But if he was drugged, how did he perform?
Like he must have been pretty charming or something to be able to cut these people into doing this.
Offering drinks, I guess,
and paying them as well. But
because he weren't going, "Hey, Konorak, does this smell of chloroform to you?"
Yeah.
But he drugged him unconscious and performed oral sex on him. So how could he do that then? He's unconscious.
It wasn't hard.
Well, that's what's the point of that then. Anyway, it'd be shit, innit? Be like pushing marshmallows into a money box. So, innit? Before Konorak fell unconscious, Dahmer led the boy into his bedroom with the body of Tony Hughes, whom Dahmer had killed 3 days earlier, lay naked on the floor. According to Dahmer, he believed that Konorak saw this body, yet did not react to seeing the bloated corpse.
Like a sense of smell or not?
No, he was drugged probably.
I mean, a 3-day-old body, it's going to start whiffing, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, even if I was shit-faced and I went to someone's house and the place smelled of bodies, I'd be out
I could just imagine everybody's constantly checking their shoes because I think they've trodden dog shit or something like
scuffing it along the grass.
Scuffing it along
going
back
looking at standing on one shoe and looking at your sole and then scuffing it on the grass.
They didn't have for breeze back then either.
I think one of the people don't like modern society, and they say the olden days were better. But one improvement is dog shit. There's not much of it about, is there? Very little. Whereas some years ago, we were always treading it. It was always like you'd always be walking through the grass, and there'd be a slip, and it's like, oh no, it's just you've got to do the scuff, innit? And then hold your shoe up. Yeah.
He used to put calcium in the dog shit, so you'd have like white turds.
That's Peter Kay. That is, he goes on about what happened to white dog
really?
shit. It was playing.
It's still about. White dog poos is still about.
Very little. There's very little
Maybe that
dog
should be
shit altogether about.
Episode. What happened to white dog poos?
It's too close to Peter Kay, and I don't like that. We don't want to go stealing his material. We're above that. But anyway.
Have it.
I was playing in goals in a football match.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the John
dived
Smith
in dogs.
advert where the kid comes in and he goes, and she goes, "Oh, I'm scared. There's a monster in my closet." He said, "You don't want to be scared about monsters. You want to be scared of serial killers. That's what you want to be scared of."
Yeah. No, I played in goals in a football match, and I dived in the dog shit, which was near the goal. So yeah, that was it. So see, that's not great. Anyway, okay then.
That's dedication to your craft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
remember
Ian
one
didn't know
match
it was
we
there,
played.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have dived for it. I don't think.
No, but one match we played, it was half time, and we were sat in our goals, talking amongst the team, and before we swapped ends, we pissed in the goal mouth, and then we swapped ends, and their goalie had to dive in the piss. So that was good. Anyway, so the things you do. But the bloated corpse, back to that. So he didn't react to the bloated corpse, most likely because of the effects of the sleeping pills he had ingested. So there, that would explain it.
I'm not a doctor. I just want to say this now. I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure sleeping pills don't affect your sense of smell.
That's maybe it wasn't that old, the corpse. Maybe it didn't smell. It was just a sight for sore eyes.
Yeah, but you know when you've had a night on the beer and then you've been farting in bed all night and then you go out for a piss and then you come back in and you're like, whoa, fucking hell! It must Dahmer's apartment must have been a bit like that, mustn't it? Like the door opens and you're like, fucking hell, aren't you?
Don't wanna light a match in there.
Yeah.
Like in the Viz story where Johnny Fart Pants goes camping and he spent the night farting in his tent and then he got up in the morning and struck a match to light the camping stove and his tent blew up. And camping with his French cousin Pierre Le Pumpy Pump on a camping holiday. Anyway, okay, back to this anyway. So anyway, on this occasion, Dahmer drilled a single narrow hole into the crown of Carniac's skull, through which he injected hydrochloric acid into the frontal lobe.
I bet he didn't even have a book where he worked out which bits of the brain did what. He's just like drilling random holes in brains to see which one works, isn't he?
Yeah. Probably never got in far enough either.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Dahmer then drank several beers while lying alongside, I'll try it again, Smith Ancestor, no Carniac, before briefly falling asleep and leaving his apartment to drink at a bar and purchase more alcohol. So he liked to knock them back.
Yeah.
No doubt to get rid of the images that he just made for himself.
Rid of the taste.
Basically,
anyway.
Netflix. Dahmer is like the Netflix version of. He's like the next Netflix version of Dennis Nielsen, isn't he?
Yep, he's the
diversity.
Yeah. In the adverts as well. So very forward thinking. But I've not seen the new Halloween film. The last Halloween film was quite diverse though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that bloke wearing a dress for no real reason. And
also he killed a gay couple, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well,
the last ones I saw were the Rob Zombie ones.
I didn't like those, especially the second one.
Blumhouse have done some now.
What? Halloween?
Yeah. Since 2018, 2018 they did the first one, Dom. You're a bit behind, mate.
Yeah, I know. I do films these days. It's all just broken shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's just interesting to see a new Halloween, that's all, even if it's shit. But I must admit, the second Rob Zombie one, I thought was the worst.
I watched that last one, and when they'd all kicked Jason to death, not Jason, Michael to death, and he came back through the power of interpretive fear. I was just like, this is bullshit. I just couldn't.
Came back through the power of dance.
Michael is if someone thinks they've killed him, they look away, and then he's scarpered, isn't he?
Mm. Well, it used to be the same with the Universal monsters like Frankenstein. It would keep going on. They'd keep bringing him back from the dead to just because you have to, because you needed to another film.
I don't have a problem with them coming back, but like at least because what was it, H2O when she chops his head off with the axe? In the following one, they said it was a bait and switch, didn't they?
What? How how was it delivered though? Was it tongue in cheek or was it kind of serious? Because I love the tongue in cheek stuff, like Return of the Living Dead Part 2. You know,
that's a brilliant film, that is, isn't it?
Yeah. They need to set the tone. They need to make sure what movie are we making, and does it fit into this franchise?
Making Friday the 13th.
Yeah, a bit like Jaws: The Revenge with Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, when he read the script and it said "Fade in Bahamas," and he said, "I'll do it," then.
And what's his name? Jeremy Irons. I think he's a. To be honest, I think he's a rubbish actor. But he did Dungeons and Dragons, and he had a really nasty, hammy performance. They asked him why he did it. He said, "Well, I got a house out of it."
I think didn't Michael Caine do a similar thing when someone gave him shit for being in Jaws: The Revenge, and he said the house I got from it.
Yeah, I think he got a house out there somewhere. Yeah, out in the Caribbean.
Anyway, where were we? Do you want me to pick up Ian? Is Ian gone? Are you there, Ian? Hobbit's gone bed.
Thank you.
Anyway, so where are we? So he drilled a hole. So he drilled into Cynthia Sommerphone's skull. Drank several beers while lying alongside him before briefly falling asleep, then leaving the apartment to drink at a bar and purchase more alcohol. So Dahmer had obviously thought he'd either killed or zombified this geezer. In the early morning hours of May 27th, Dahmer returned towards his apartment to discover Cynthia Sommerphone, something like that, like sitting naked on the corner of 25th and State, talking in Lao. I'm pretty sure you don't talk in Lao. I'm pretty sure they don't speak Lao in Lao, do they?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there. Am I back?
You went quiet.
You're back
with us now, Ian.
I think I lost something in the.
And one thing I'd like to say about the last kill, he laid beside him, and he did with the dummy. And I think his idea was that he was so afraid of abandonment. So I think it was at the point that victims left. They were like, "Oh, he's leaving me. Kill him."
Like I said, this is just the Netflix remake of Dennis Nielsen. I'm sure him at some point has read something about Dennis Nielsen. I'm sure of it. It's just too close to Dennis Nielsen to not have. Dennis Nielsen not to have had some sort of.
And it's sort of a similar period as well, isn't it? It's not long after the Nielsen killings, only a few years.
When was Nielsen active? Hold on.
Was it early mid 80s? Was it not?
Early to mid, I'd say.
Yeah.
That'd be a good celebrity death match, wouldn't it? Dennis Nielsen versus
Dahmer.
I don't think Dennis Nielsen's got it in him to have a good punch up, though, is he?
Mind you, Dahmer's dead, so
83.
So Nielsen would win that quite easily.
83.
Aren't they both dead?
So Dahmer.
I think Nielsen's
still locked up, is he?
I think so, yeah.
No, I think he's dead now.
Is he?
He died 2018.
Quite recently. Anyway.
He died of COVID in 2018.
Anyway, okay then. So back to this then. Smith answered the phone, was stood naked with three women. Right, blah de blah. And then three women dissuaded Dahmer. Hang on a minute. Dahmer approached. Here we go. Sorry. Dahmer approached the women and told Smith answered the phone, whom he referred to as his alias John Hung, was his friend, and attempted to lead him back to his apartment by the arm. The three women dissuaded Dahmer, explaining that they had phoned 911. So, upon arrival of the two Milwaukee police officers, John Balzarak and Joseph Garbish, Dahmer's demeanor relaxed. He told the officers, that Smith answered the phone was his 19-year-old boyfriend, and he had drunk too much following a quarrel, and that he frequently behaved in this manner when intoxicated. Dahmer added that his lover consumed Jack Daniel's whiskey that evening. So the three women were exasperated when two of the trio attempted to indicate that to one of the officers, both of whom had observed no injuries beyond a scrape to the knee of the victim and believed him to be intoxicated.
So nobody noticed the drill hole in his head then?
There was blood. It was blood upon his testicles, was bleeding from his rectum, and he had seemingly struggled against Dahmer's attempts to walk him to his apartment prior to their arrival. The officer harshly informed her to butt out, shut the hell up, and not interfere. So yeah.
Shut up, be gone, thought.
Yeah. So anyway, they weren't. They were
shit.
believing what Dahmer said. Shortly after the arrival of the officers, 3 members of the Milwaukee Fire Department arrived at the scene. These individuals also examined Smith Ansophone for injuries and provided a yellow blanket for the police officers to cover him. One of the 3 believed that he had needed treatment, but the police officers directed the fire department personnel to leave. Shortly thereafter, Richard Fortean arrived on the scene. He and Garbage followed Balzac, escorted Dahmer and Smith Ansophone to Dahmer's apartment, as Dahmer repeatedly commented on the general crime in the neighborhood and the appreciation of the police. So yeah,
he just said, these blacks ruining this otherwise good area.
You're doing a great. You can take me and my boyfriend back to my apartment. You're just doing a great job, and
Right, but we should be back. We're back on the. Should be.
Are we back?
Any second.
All right then.
I think the LGBTQ blah blah should take some letters back. They're like, okay, we're not having all the letters. You can have S and K for serial killer back.
S and K.
But this stream tonight is a bit like Dahmer's victims, isn't it? Dead. But anyway, hey. Okay then.
It's
Let's
a bit,
wait
it's
for
a
it
bit
to
like
die again.
The Milwaukee Police Department.
Yeah, sorry viewers for the quiet periods, but we'll get through it. Yeah. Anyway, inside his apartment, and in an effort to verify his claim that Smith and Ansophone were lovers, Dahmer showed the officers the 2 semi-nude Polaroid pictures that he'd taken of the youth the previous evening. Hey, look at that then, eh?
Do you think they just didn't want we just don't want the fucking paperwork tonight, Dahmer.
Yeah.
Show us
look at these
proof,
photos.
Any proof, just anything. We'll
look at that then.
We ain't gonna bother you. Crack on, son.
Balzac said he smelled nothing unusual. Garbish later stated that he noticed a strange scent reminiscent of excrement inside the apartment.
I did actually.
Maybe someone had just had
find where are they now? We are actually going to do a where are they now with the 2 police officers that waved him on.
All right, after this bit, you can do that.
Do you want to
the odor.
Then,
yeah, I'll finish this bit off and then we can do it there. This odour emanated from the decomposing body of Hughes. Dahmer stated that to investigate this odour, the officer simply peeked his head around one bedroom, but really didn't take a good look. The officers then left with a departing remark that Dahmer take good care of his boyfriend. This incident was listed by the officers as a domestic dispute. Okay. So, do you want to do a quick where are they now?
What happened to the cops who let Jeffrey Dahmer go? Officers Balzac and Gabrish. Can you see Alex Jones is in court with him there? Where is it? Blah blah blah. We know. So what happened to the cops? Just a few months before his eventual arrest in May 19. Oh God. Blah blah blah. Badly beaten. Blah blah blah. Police officers Joseph Gabrish and John Balzac arrived at the scene responding to a man down alert. What they found appeared to be a young man, naked and dazed, wrapped in a blanket with Milwaukee Fire Department paramedics. Blah, blah, blah. We knew this. The 2 cops let him go. What happened to the cops who let Jeffrey Dahmer go? Are you actually going to tell us this time? Dahmer was... No, they're still not telling us. All right, so according to the Advocate, the cops who let Jeffrey Dahmer go were fired by Police Chief Philip Areola for acts of omission such as failure to take witness names at the scene and failure to take an obviously incapacitated child into protective custody.
Hang on.
The Washington Post reported.
Police Chief Areola.
Yeah, that's his name.
Outside of the nipple, that was his name.
So what happened to them? And also Chief Police Areola as well. Where is he these days? They're probably all dead.
So, officers John Balzarak and Joseph Gabrish bought the brunt of these charges and were let go, while a third officer who was also on the scene, Richard Porobkan, was put on job probation for a year. Per the Post, Porobkan was allowed to keep his job because of his relative inexperience and because he was less culpable in handling the incident. Officers Balzac and Gabrish appealed their dismissals, and although the Milwaukee Fire and Police Commissions upheld the decision in 1992, 2 years later the officers were reinstated by a court order with back pay of $55,000 each. So they went on to have flourishing careers in law enforcement and public service. Officer Balzarak was elected president of the State Police Union, the Milwaukee Police Association, a role in which he served between 2005 and 2009. On Milwaukee reported he retired in 2017 and has since owned a tavern. Heavy reports. Officer Gabrish left the Milwaukee Police Force and in 1993 became a policeman in Grafton, Wisconsin. There he climbed the ranks until he was named interim police chief and served as captain of the Grafton PD, the Ozarky Press reported. He was also police chief in the nearby town of Trenton, where he lived, having founded that police department in 1997. Gabrish went on to get a master's degree and eventually retired from the police force. So there you go. Crime does pay, lads.
Oh, by the way, Hemi, I'm hearing a kind of double voice effect.
I don't know why that would be.
Is that coming out on the stream, though?
I
know, but it sounds kind of cool, so if it is, I think you should continue on.
I can't hear it. I think chat would have moaned by now. So
what we'll do, I'll tell you what.
Those 2 police officers failing upwards.
Yep, but so what happened there, though? The end of this adventure. Once the officers had left, so upon the departure of the 3 officers from his apartment, Dahmer again injected hydrochloric acid into the young man's brain.
Did you say the bit when the officers left with a departing remark that Dahmer take good care of synthesophone?
Yeah, they were left on good terms. But upon the second occasion, the injection proved fatal. The following day, May the 28th, Dahmer took a day's leave from work to devote himself to the dismemberment of the bodies of Synthesophone and Hughes. He retained both victims' skulls. And there you go. So that's that bit. So... someone want to do the next, the end bit, or should we go?
He was just like collecting it all, was he?
Yeah, he just like to do that. They like to do it as a memento. I could cover the last. There's just the last few paragraphs on his actions before the arrest. If someone wants to take over.
On June 30th, Dahmer travelled to Chicago, where he encountered a 20-year-old man named Matt Turner at a bus station. Turner accepted Dahmer's offer to travel to Milwaukee for a professional photo shoot. This man who looks like shit and smells like death goes, "Hey, I'm a professional photographer." These people, they really don't want to live, do they?
Mind you, David Beatty was a very scruffy man, wasn't he?
He probably didn't smell like dead people, though, did he?
Well, he looked like he did, but he used to get off with his models, though, didn't he? Yeah. Anyway,
come over to my bleach-filled apartment. I'm just gonna, with this little camera and no lights, take some photos. And take some photos for private use.
Turner accepted Dahmer's offer to travel to Milwaukee for a professional photo shoot. At the apartment, Dahmer drugged, strangled, and dismembered Turner and placed his head and internal organs in separate plastic bags in the freezer. Turner was not reported missing. 5 days later, on July 5th, Dahmer lured 23-year-old Jeremiah Weinberger from a...
He's like a fucking... He's like one of those like football factory guys, like hiding fucking weapons around the house, but instead it's body parts. He just opens the closet and goes, "Oh, forgot I put that in there."
Well, again, Dennis Nielsen. Dennis Nielsen was the same. He just kept shit in bags and that, didn't he?
Yeah. And in the freezer.
Do you remember that in Scotland? There was a guy in Scotland who they were like, "Oh yeah, you've kind of got bones and teeth and like blood in your drain." It's like, "Oh, how funny."
That sounds like Nielsen.
I think
he was Scottish, but he was in London.
He lived in London.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, were Nielsen and Dahmer both holding down jobs at the time?
Nielsen
was he working for the job
centre, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In Kentish Town. Yeah.
Like, your day is going to consist of, doing your daily chores, going to work,
just at work,
trying to do something with the body part situation.
Oh fuck! I hope I don't
get a new one.
I hope I don't get any overtime. I hope I don't get any overtime. I've got that dead body to cut up. He drugged Weinberger and twice injected boiling water through his skull, sending him into a coma from which he died 2 years. Where is he getting these ideas from that boiling water and acid make zombies?
Into a skull. So how did you make an incision in the skull and then pour water in it?
You can't even blame. No,
he drills a hole.
Holes in there.
He drilled a hole, a nice round hole, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was to do with something to do with embalming or like preservatives or something. So it's like to preserve it. So I think he got the idea, the way he was like, "Oh yeah, like if I just inject a little bit of preservative into the head, they'll just like stay awake or so." I don't know.
Maybe he had a hard-on from the old ancient Egyptians because they had like little pots for different different organs.
Even over the thing that when he was having gay sex in like fucking hotels or whatever, the main reason he started wanting a zombie slave is because when they moved about, it pissed him off.
He wanted someone to stay still.
I keep telling you, he is the Netflix version of Dennis Nielsen.
Yeah.
So on
you want someone to stay still? I mean, just give him like some ketamine or something. And then go to murder him.
You know how to paralyse a woman from the waist down, don't you? Put a wedding ring on her finger.
I reckon his brain got rotten. Because he was an alcoholic at 14-year-old when he was at school, wasn't he?
Well, they are like drunk ideas. They are like drunk. I don't know what, guys. If I just drill into someone's head and put boiling water in there, he's gonna be a zombie, isn't he?
Yeah, try.
I'm gonna have a go at that. That's gonna work.
Or drain fluid.
Yeah.
Drain cleaner.
Only.
Do you reckon when this Victor, he was just like, oh yeah, if you like come over to mine and I take a picture, I'll sell them for like $1 million, man.
Are you saying we're talking about gay icon, pioneer of science, Jeffrey Dahmer?
Man of science, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Do you reckon every time he woke up, he was like, "Oh man, not again"? Like when he killed him or whatever.
What did I do?
That was Nielsen's profile. I think Dahmer was a bit different. Because after the first one, he was like, "Right, okay, we're gonna do some weird shit with this. We're gonna experiment. We're gonna start doing stuff, and then we'll probably try and dispose of them in different ways." And yeah,
Bill Nye totally talks
about. He's a scientist. Yeah, he's a scientist. He's a pure scientist.
I fucking love science. So on July,
it's just a shame. It's a shame Jeffrey Dahmer was an amazing biological scientist. He didn't follow the rules. It was a bit of a nincompoop.
You saw any words a bit there, big guy.
Yeah. Right, so on July 15th, Dahmer encountered 24-year-old Oliver Lacey at the corner of 27th and Kilbourne. Lacey agreed to Dahmer's ruse of posing nude for photographs and accompanied him to his apartment, where the pair engaged in tentative sexual activity before Dahmer drugged Lacey. On this occasion, Dahmer intended to prolong the time he spent with Lacey while alive. After unsuccessfully attempting to render Lacey unconscious with chloroform, he literally did the bit, didn't he? Does this smell like chloroform to you?
Lacey sounded like he was up for it in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's like, if you come back to mine, I'll show you a dick pic.
Yeah, all right then.
He phoned his workplace to request a day's absence. This was granted, although the next day he was suspended. That's hardly a punishment. If he wants days off, so they give him more days off. That's hardly a punishment, is it?
But if he's taking a sickie, so you can only go so far.
Yeah.
What if he had a one-night stand, right, where the guy decided to stay for the night, and he can like scrambled eggs in the morning? I've like broken the kind of thing. Oh, someone stayed the night, and he's, would it have broken his pattern? Do you think there was?
Well, if someone just gone, yeah,
someone was just here.
I'm going to stay here for the week, Jeff. Is that all right, mate?
Yeah, because that's all he wanted. He wanted people to stay, and he was frustrated when they left him, and so he killed them.
And he wanted a bit of cock and bum fun as well.
Yeah. So if they gave him cock and bum fun, they're like, oh, it's the morning. Let's have some more cock and bum fun. And do you want scrambled eggs? Yeah. What if that had happened? Do you think he would have? And then they formed a relationship.
I don't know, because a lot of these do eventually, like they let people go occasionally, don't they? Just because whatever it is that person's done doesn't quite gel with what they want, does it?
Yeah. Do you think he could have taken that different path?
Yeah. Even then, when he went to prison, he would have enjoyed that because there's lots of arse sex going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, but they're moving.
Are we going to talk about how he died in prison?
We're going to talk about.
I don't know if he. We'll need a Dahmer part 3 for that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think we.
Yeah, because that was interesting.
We still haven't got to the penis in the kettle yet.
Yeah, that's the highlight of the whole thing.
Yeah, the penis in the kettle. That's the tagline.
What am I going to do?
Are we allowed?
As many as it takes.
Okay, you got. Okay, I won't get the stream taken down then.
Karaoke says, I would inject blackcurrant jam. I don't know why. I do like blackcurrant jam. It can't be any worse than boiling water or hydrochloric acid.
Cool.
On July 22nd, 1991. Go on then.
Sorry, I was just going to say, karaoke a regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why is he not an admin? This is the only channel where everyone is an admin.
He wasn't here on that day. I think he had a different account on that day.
Everyone can kick everyone else out if they want.
Yeah. Everyone bully kids karaoke because you can. Dahmer approached 3 men with an offer of $100 to accompany him to his apartment to pose for nude photo. Like, he's offering an imaginary $100 that he never intends to pay, and he's offering $100. Like, surely you'd offer $500 or something, wouldn't you?
There's a lot of money in those days. This was 30 years ago, so.
Oh, yeah.
Energy was cheaper.
Drink beer and simply keep him company. One of the trio, 32-year-old Tracy Edwards. I think that's the headless corpse that Hobbit was talking about at the start. Agreed to come.
This sounds like the night people went back to Barrymore's house.
Yeah.
I read
Barrymore's.
I read it's completely off topic to Dahmer, but apparently there was some guy in the Rockies or something in the USA who like he'd kidnap like young girls and like play a tape for them. It's fucking disturbing shit.
Oh, is that the Toy Box Killer?
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah,
I was like reading the transcript of the tape.
What's the other? Leonard Lake and Charles Ng. They were a fucked up pair as well.
Yeah.
You know what? I think we have the power to forge a news report, a fake news report. I think Loch Ness Monster found in Michael Barrymore's swimming pool. The perfect one.
Found dead in Michael Barrymore's swimming pool.
Yeah. with anus ruptured.
Do you reckon that's going to be season 4 of The Boys when like the Deep goes to find Nessie?
So one of the trio, 32-year-old Tracy Edwards, agreed to accompany him to his apartment. Upon entering Dahmer's apartment, he said, "Well, what the fuck is that smell?" No, he didn't. He just went straight in and didn't even notice there was a fucking smell. Edwards noted a foul odour and several boxes of hydrochloric acid on the floor. To which he went, "What the fuck?" and carried on anyway. Which Dahmer claimed to use for cleaning bricks. Did you see any bricks?
Yeah.
Did you see any bricks, Tracy? Tracy, did you see any bricks in the apartment? Then he's not fucking using it for cleaning bricks then, is he?
No, I saw plenty of pricks, and there was one in the kettle.
Yeah.
He could have been like, well, we're gay, so obviously we're into pissing all over each other, so that's what that smell is.
Water sports.
What the fuck is going on with that neighbourhood where the smell of death and boxes of hydrochloric acid on the floor and nothing to worry about? What is going on in that neighbourhood?
I'm amazed. Well, when the cops went to investigate, though, how were they not like, that smells like drugs, we're going to search your apartment?
Yeah.
When did they get home early that night?
I think they were just like thinking with dicks, so they were like high on, like, I don't know, dopamine or whatever. Like, I'll just ignore this weird shit.
Those coppers were just like, because it was kind of the thing back at the time. It's just to cut the gays, this is what they do.
Yeah, they just went, oh, yeah, well, obviously, like, he's gay, so he's a wrong-un. So, of course, they smell him fucking weird.
Water Sports Volume 3.
Yeah.
Right, go on.
So,
where are we?
Edwards. So, after some minor conversation, which none of it involved, like, yeah, I'm going to go, because this is fucking weird. No, Tracy just carried on talking. Edwards responded to Dahmer's request to turn his head and view his tropical fish, whereupon Dahmer placed a handcuff on his wrist. When Edwards asks what's happening, finally, Tracy Edwards wonders what's going on in this fucking weird apartment. Dahmer unsuccessfully attempted to cuff his wrists together.
That was the trick that Gacy used, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Gacy was clever enough to have a key for it.
I want to see a magic trick. I'm going to cuff you.
Yeah. Well, he did a thing where he'd have the cuffs on, but he'd get out of them really easily, and he'd tell the other person that it was really easy to get out of the cuffs, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Purple Aki would say, "Can you get through that hole in the seat? Climb through the hole between the back panel and the seat part of the chair."
Oh shit!
And when they were halfway through, he'd do them when they were halfway through. They get stuck in the bending over position. He'd do them.
Should it be a fucking Freddy vs. Jason? Should we do Purple Aki vs. Dahmer? Wacky goes over to his fucking apartment.
So then, after this completely normal being handcuffed, which Tracy still doesn't really object to, he then told Edwards to accompany him to the bedroom to pose for nude pictures. While inside the bedroom, Edwards noted nude male posters on the wall and that a videotape of The Exorcist 3 was playing. He also noticed a blue 57-gallon drum in the corner from which a strong odour emanated. But still, Tracy carries on.
I wonder what was in there. Have you seen The Exorcist 3? It's quite good. George C. Scott is in it.
I saw it a long time ago, and I attempted.
Yeah, there's that good jump scare, isn't there? In it, it's sort of more of a thriller than a horror. But that one jump scare in the hospital is really good.
is really, really bad, isn't it?
Yeah, The Exorcist 3 is it's just that one scene which makes the film, I think. But anyway,
Halloween Ends is dog shit. I saw that.
We got to see it though. Has to be seen.
So bad.
It's not a surprise.
Like, yeah, I fucking hated it. Like, I don't want to spoil it. It's kind of off topic.
So Dahmer then brandished a knife and informed Edwards he intended to take nude pictures of them. In an attempt to appease Dahmer, Edwards unbuttoned his shirt, saying he'd allow him to do so if he would remove the handcuffs and put the knife away. In response to this promise, Dahmer simply turned his attention towards the TV. Edwards observed Dahmer rocking back and forth and chanting before turning his attention back to him. He placed his head on Edwards' chest, listened to his heartbeat, and with the knife pressed against his intended victim, informed Edwards that he intended to eat his heart. In continuous attempts to prevent Dahmer from attacking him, Edwards repeated that he was Dahmer's friend and he was not going to run away. When Edwards had decided he was going to either jump from a window or run through the unlocked front door upon the next available opportunity. When Edwards next stated he needed to use the bathroom, he asked if they could sit with a beer in the living room where there was air conditioning. Dahmer consented and the pair walked into the living room when Edwards exited the bathroom. Inside the living room, Edwards waited until he observed Dahmer have a momentary lapse of concentration before requesting to use the bathroom again. When Edwards rose from the couch, he noted Dahmer was not holding the handcuffs, whereupon Edwards punched him in the face, knocking Dahmer off balance and ran out of the front door. At 11:30 p.m. on July 22nd, Edwards flagged down two Milwaukee police officers, Robert Routh and Rolf Mueller, at the corner of North 25th Street. The officers noticed Edwards had a handcuff attached to his wrist, whereupon he explained to the officers that a freak had placed the handcuffs upon him and asked if the police could remove them. When the officer's handcuff key failed to fit the brand of handcuffs, Edward agreed to accompany the officers to the apartment where Edwards had stated he'd spent the previous 5 hours before escaping. When officers and Edwards...
Well, to be honest, this Edwards dude sounds like a bit of a hero.
Finally, they've found two, like, police officers that actually, like, give more than a bit of a fuck.
Yeah. Police officers who weren't doing the Macarena were just getting on with their jobs properly.
Well, sort of. the other lot weren't doing too well, were they?
What we pay our taxes for.
Yeah.
He found two in a pride uniform doing a fucking Macarena.
Yeah. They're in high heels.
Yeah.
So
when
when
I don't know, a guy just got a knife out and it was too kinky for me.
Yeah. When the just like I love the way like police officers in the 90s were like, where they're gays, this is just stuff they do.
It's normal for them.
Yeah. When the officers and Edwards arrived at apartment 213, Dahmer invited the trio inside and acknowledged he had placed the handcuffs upon Edwards, although he offered no explanation as to why he had done so. At this point, Edwards divulged to the officers that Dahmer had also brandished a large knife upon him, and that this had happened in the bedroom. Dahmer made no comment to this revelation, indicating to one of the officers, Mueller, that the key to the handcuffs was in his bedside dresser. As Mueller entered the bedroom, Dahmer attempted to pass Mueller to retrieve the key himself.
The officers did nothing because...
Whereupon the second officer, President Routh, informed him to back off. In the bedroom, Mueller noted there was a large knife beneath the bed. He saw an open drawer which, upon closer inspection, contained scores of Polaroid pictures, many of which were human bodies in various stages of dismemberment. Mueller noticed the decor indicated they had been taken in the same apartment which they were standing. Mueller walked into the living room to show them to his partner, uttering the words, "These are for real." When Dahmer saw that Mueller was holding several of his Polaroids, he fought with the officers in an effort to resist arrest. The officers quickly overpowered him, cuffed his hands behind his back, and called a second squad car for backup. At this point, Mueller opened the refrigerator to reveal the freshly severed head of a black male on the bottom shelf. As Dahmer
the guy that done him in was this Mueller guy who was going to be his next victim.
Yeah.
He was a yogurt.
Yeah. Where is it? Dahmer lay pinned on the floor between Ralph. He turned his head towards the officers and muttered the words, "For what I did, I should be dead."
Confession time.
Yes.
Just real quick. So Josh Moon made the observation that because of all the trannies and how it's being promoted at the minute,
yeah,
in a couple of years, with all the people regretting like the post-op stuff and the pre-op and all this shit and like the decision too young, they think there's going to be like a load of fucked up serial killers in the next few years.
Oh yeah, have you seen the what's his name? Duncan? I don't know. I can't remember his name.
Peter Duncan.
He was on Joe Rogan, and he was explaining how if you look over time, the downfall of empires is when they focus on gender.
Yeah,
and there's a kind of pattern to it. So I think that's what we're going through right now.
Yeah, I don't think
it's all right.
What we're going through is anything new.
It's all right though. I think it's all right being a tranny if you want. That's also what you want to do. What I want to do though, it's always blokes being women.
No, if you
yeah. Why is it always blokes? Why is?
Why
is it always really unconvincing blokes? You wouldn't mind if they could actually. You wouldn't mind if they could vaguely pass, but they're not even trying anymore, are they?
No, exactly. Like, they can't even. You go, what is a woman? They can't say an adult human female. Like, for fuck's sake. Like,
yeah.
But okay, so basically, there's a lot of Reddit threads where they're like, I just had my fucking operation, and I don't feel like a tranny anymore, and I've got more sympathy because they're turned because they're autistic. They're autistic incels, right? So basically, like, they've got what you call autogynephilia, where they're just really turned on by the idea of themselves as a sex. Yeah. So like, and putting on a dress and dressing up, because ultimately they go, I can't get a GF, so I'll become the GF, right?
Yeah.
But because there's an element of narcissism there as well. But they always they never actually want to present as like, I don't know, like, a well-to-do woman. They always want to present as the most bimbified fucking whore. So that's the idea of what a woman is anyway. So that's all sorts of fun.
You see that exchange on Twitter about a short dress, and it was like, oh no, I couldn't get away with a dress like that. My balls would hang too low.
My balls would fan out. Yeah, but basically, so when they go through the op, suddenly they don't want to be a tranny anymore because they're not turned on by the idea, and they realise the mistake.
It's not the change they think it is. They think they're going to enter the chrysalis and come out as something completely different on the other side when they're in fact just the same old them, but they've been mutilated.
Yeah.
It's just basically a man with no dick. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've just castrated yourself.
Yeah.
And then the female to male ones, basically what happens there is like they read a bunch of like yaoi gay Japanese comics, and they think that their life's gonna be like, oh, I get to live like a fucking queer in a yaoi, and that's how they think the life's gonna be, and obviously it fucking isn't, because
plus also there's hardly any female to male ones, whereas they just seem to be all male to female. There's something that needs to be explained by someone, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, I don't give a fuck what they do when they do it to children.
Right.
So when they do,
I think we need to start this discussion right here before my channel gets.
It's to make it easier to get access to children for the elites that want to fucking, because they're pedos. That's what it's about.
It's the parents that think it's stunning and brave, don't they?
It's this fucking cancer.
Yeah. And Hobbit isn't here, so someone has to do it.
Right, anyway, where were
the channel? Get the channel taken down.
What I was going to round off on real quick was there was that lesbian who, for like a year, looked like kind of a convincing man, and like dressed up like one and lived a life as one, and then she ended up killing herself from the trauma because she couldn't deal with the challenges and the loneliness, and how, you don't just get showered with fucking attention all the time just for existing like you did when you're a woman. It was interesting.
Well, it used to happen back in the day. Do you remember that one from like the 90s or something, Ian, where where it was a lesbian woman pretending to be a guy, and she always insisted that the girlfriend had sex with the lights out and stuff, and then she was doing her with a dildo. Do you remember that story?
I can't remember that, but I can well believe it in these days.
Yeah,
no, that's not these days. This was like back in the 90s or something. The woman actually got a custodial sentence for that.
And then
it does ring a bell, actually. I didn't remember that.
What did the woman go? Oh, your knob's a bit cold there, mate.
I don't know what it was, but she got away with it for like a couple of months or something. This weird way of having sex, but eventually she twigged. I can't remember how she twigged, but eventually she twigged and took the other girl to court, and the girl got put away for it.
Yeah.
But now I think she'd just be told she was stunning and brave, wouldn't she?
Mm.
Yeah.
She did the right thing. Anyway, where are we up to in this? I've lost track. Are we moving to the arrest?
A more detailed search of the apartment conducted by Milwaukee's police's Criminal Investigation Bureau revealed a total of 4 severed heads in Dahmer's kitchen. A total of 7 skulls, some painted, some bleached, were found in Dahmer's bedroom and inside a closet.
Yeah.
Investigators discovered collected blood drippings upon a tray at the bottom of Dahmer's refrigerator, plus 2 human hearts, and a portion of arm muscle, each wrapped inside plastic bags upon the shelves. In Dahmer's freezer, investigators discovered an entire torso, plus a bag of human organs and flesh stuck to the ice at the bottom. So it's like when you get your tongue stuck on a lolly, but worse. Elsewhere,
imagine Dahmer's kitchen. Today we're gonna fry a left eyeball.
Sounds like a Saturday morning
I'm going to
show.
show you how to make knob soup in your kettle.
Dahmer's kitchen with his celebrity guests.
Yeah. With Amber Heard.
Yeah.
I've got Dahmer.
Cheryl from Bucks Fizz.
I've got Amber Heard here. I've filled her up with sleepers and laxatives, and she's in the bed now.
Gonna shit the bed.
For Operation YouTube, guys.
Elsewhere in apartment 213, the investigators discovered 2 entire skeletons, a pair of severed hands, 2 severed and preserved penises, a mummified scalp, and in the 57-gallon drum, 3 further dismembered torsos dissolving in the acid solution. A total of 74 Polaroid pictures detailing the dismemberment of Dahmer's victims were found. In reference to the recovery of body parts and artifacts at 924 North 25th Street, the chief medical examiner later stated it was more like dismantling someone's museum than an actual crime scene. So do you want to go on to the confession, Ian?
Okay. But there's something missing, isn't there? Now we've got this far.
The knob
kettle.
in the kettle.
There's no mention of the kettle.
No.
Oh. That's the best thing about it.
That's the thing I remember at the time, the knob in the kettle. I don't know whether it was a
because it's fucking hilarious.
It was real. I don't know whether it was just something that somebody told me at the time.
Anyway,
sure
okay, well,
the knob in the kettle.
You have to exactly. But anyway, all right then. So there we go. So Dahmer had been undone, but now his game was up. It's been a good fun while it lasted. It's a fair cop. He's going down. So. Beginning in the early hours of July the 23rd, 1991, Dahmer was questioned by Detective Patrick Kennedy as to the murders he had committed and the evidence found in his apartment. Over the following 2 weeks, Kennedy and later Detective Dennis Murphy, I like these names, they're not like those ones earlier, isn't it? We couldn't pronounce. Patrick Kennedy and Dennis Murphy. Anyway, conducted numerous interviews with Dahmer, which combined a total of over 60 hours. Have I gone offline?
No, I can hear you.
All right, it's gone quiet. I thought no one's making any quips, and this happened. I was reading away earlier, and I realised I wasn't on the stream for about 5 minutes. I was reading this.
I found a story 2015. So
oh yeah, a Dick Kettle story.
No, it's not a Dick Kettle story. It's
well, that's what we want. That's what we want.
Gail Noonan is accused of bandaging her body, wearing prosthetic penis, and making victim wear blindfold during 5 alleged sexual assaults.
Strap on. Anyway, interestingly, I might have seen it before, but
the complainant said she thought she was with a man she had befriended on the internet called Kai Fortune.
Excellent. Anyway, Dahmer waived his right to have a lawyer present throughout his interrogations, adding that he wished to confess all that he had created this horror, and it only makes sense. I do everything and put an end to it. He readily admitted having murdered 16 young men in Wisconsin since 1987, with one further victim, Stephen Hicks, killed in Ohio back in 1978. Most of Dahmer's victims rendered unconscious prior to their murder, although some had died as a result of having acid or boiling water injected into their brain. As he had no memory of the murder of his second victim, Stephen Tomey, he was unsure whether he was unconscious when he was beaten to death, although he did concede it was possible that his viewing the exposed chest of Tomey while he was in a drunken stupor may have led him to unsuccessfully attempt to tear Tomey's heart from his chest. Almost all the murders Dahmer committed after moving into the Oxford apartments had involved the ritual of posing the victims' bodies into suggestive poses, typically with the chest thrust outwards prior to dismemberment. So, yeah. And they were dismembered, weren't they? Eh? And the member was put in the kettle.
The member was
anyway, yeah, the male member. So, Dahmer readily admitted engaging in necrophilia with several of his victims' bodies, including performing sexual acts
Look, I may be a
with
fucking
their
weirdo, but I'm not a
viscera.
necrophilic. Is that what he said?
Savile was, wasn't he? So they say.
Yeah.
He dismembered their... Yeah. As he dismembered their bodies in his bathtub, having noted that much of the blood pooled inside his victims' chests after death, Dahmer first removed their internal organs, then suspended the torso so the blood drained into his bathtub before dicing any organs he did not wish to retain, peeling the flesh from the body. The bones he wished to dispose of were pulverized or acidified with Solax and bleach solutions used to aid in the preservation of skeletons and skulls he wished to keep. Dahmer confessed to having consumed the hearts, biceps and portions of thighs of 3 of his victims that he killed in the Oxford apartments. That was Raymond Smith, Ernest Miller and Oliver Lacey. And to have retained the flesh and organs of other victims for intended consumption. Typically, Dahmer would tenderize the body parts he intended to consume prior to preparing meals, flayed with various condiments. So yeah, it was all very civilized what he did.
It was all very normal. It was all very.
Yeah, it was quite a. It was quite a.
What
chef,
article are you on?
Wikipedia.
So.
What?
Wikipedia, yeah, it goes on for ages. I don't even know if you're going to finish it this tonight. Where's no, is there?
Yeah,
so yeah, where are we?
We're
not even halfway through. This is going to be a 6-parter unless we have to take some. It is going at this rate because we got anyway. So anyway,
we have to
references,
cuts, aren't we?
and it's because we keep dicking about and talking about trannies and stuff, isn't it? So, and Barrymore's party.
Yeah.
Referencing his reasons for consuming his victims, Dahmer stated he had initially consumed portions of his victims due to curiosity, before adding, I suppose, in an odd way, it made me feel that they were even more a permanent part of me. So, yeah.
Do you ever get curious?
Do you ever did with cat food, yeah. I did get curious with cat food, and I had a bit, so...
Like the old adage, I'm not gay, I'm just curious, you know?
Yeah. I'm not gay, I just fuck men.
Yeah.
Anyway, describing the increase in his rate of killing in the 2 months prior to his arrest, Dahmer stated that he had been completely swept along with his compulsion to kill, adding it was incessant and a never-ending desire to be with someone at whatever cost. Someone good-looking, really nice-looking. It filled like my thoughts all day long. When asked why he had presumed
fucking bus stops, can you imagine what kind of and they
that was
with skeevy apartment.
that was bullshit.
death, bleach, and hydrochloric acid, and they didn't bat an eyelid. These people must have been some real fucking top.
I don't know why he's saying that though. It's bullshit. He was just a psychopath and a necrophile, wasn't it? That's why he was doing it.
Those lyrics, someone good looking all day long. Good luck.
Do, but just get someone ugly, innit?
Yeah,
I'll do. Anyway, when asked as to why he had preserved a total of 7 skulls and the entire skeletons of 2 victims, Dahmer stated that he had been in the process of constructing a private altar of victims' skulls, which he had intended to display on the black table located in his living room, upon which he had photographed the bodies of many of his victims. Yeah, exactly. This display of skulls was to be adorned at each side with the complete skeletons of Miller and Lacey. The 4 severed heads found in his kitchen were all to have the flesh removed and used in his altar. Skull was
get off the megabus.
Yeah, exactly. Was at least where am I? Oh yeah, so this was the skull of at least one future victim. Incense sticks were to be placed at each end of the black table, above which Dahmer intended to place a large
on the middle of the table.
There is a diagram there. I don't know if we can get that up.
I'll put it up. I'll put it up. It's already on.
Yeah. Who drew? Is that what he drew? Because it's fucking shit if it is.
Yeah,
so, what the fuck is that? Pathetic. Anyway, you'll never get your GCSE art with that.
with points of fluorescent eyes. Is that what it says?
I don't know. Some kind of candle thing in there, isn't there? I don't know. Show the viewers that.
Window covered with black shower curtains.
Come on. But it doesn't cost much to buy a decent tablecloth, does it? No need for that.
Right.
That he did a drawing of the altar he wanted to make.
Yeah.
The balloons. Oh, what?
And who are the 2 stick men at each end?
Stick men, yeah.
They're painted skeletons, Miller and Lacey.
It looks like they're playing snooker. Hey.
Remember, put as many dicks in the kettle as you can.
Anyway, okay. Okay, then let's skip over that. Okay, so he had an altar and black magic shit going on. When asked in November the 18th, 1991, an interview whom the altar was dedicated to, Dahmer replied, "Myself. It was a place where I could feel at home." He further described his intended altar as a place for meditation.
The Tinder bot has heard of this hot and heavy dating talk and has decided to weigh in.
Yeah, so it was a place of meditation from where he believed he could draw a sense of power, adding, if this happened 6 months later, that's what they would have found. So it almost finished his altar, but it was quite a pathetic effort, really. What is that sort of thing in the middle there? Sort of like a plant with balls on the end or something in it?
With blue.
It's a lamp, is it?
Something I can't see what it says. It says lamp with blue, and then it's not very.
I can draw a better lamp than that.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the balls on the top, they're painted skulls. And then he'd have a black and white carpet. And
right, that's what they are.
Then he'd have a block plush chair.
Like this candle holder.
Just like imagine
anyway,
IKEA if it was for people who were psychopathic.
If that was IKEA, no one would go there, would they?
Yeah.
On July the 25th, 1991.
You said want to buy the kettle from IKEA if
yeah. I'll have a surprise when they get it home.
Yeah.
On July the 25th, 1991, Dahmer was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. By August the 27th, the charge had been changed with a further 11 murders committed in Wisconsin. On September the 14th, investigators in Ohio, having uncovered hundreds of bone fragments in woodland behind the address in which Dahmer had confessed to killing his first victim, formally identified as 2 molars and a vertebra, with X-ray records of Hicks. 3 days later, Dahmer was charged in Ohio with Hicks murder. So there, Dahmer was not charged with the attempted murder of Edwards nor the murder of Tuomi. He was not charged with Tuomi's murder because Milwaukee County District Attorney only brought charges where murder could have been proven beyond reasonable doubt, though it was obvious he did it. And Dahmer had no memory of actually committing this particular murder, for which no physical evidence of the crime existed.
I should imagine in a case like his, they'd keep one or two back in case he did.
What I thought was stupid was he managed to do that in a hotel room, chop the guy up and put him in a suitcase, and just leave, and no one was like, "Oh, that's a bit weird." And like, no, they didn't find any like fucking blood or anything in the hotel room. Like, what?
Well,
to be fair, nobody noticed Brian Paddock loading up crates and crates of armaments in his hotel room.
Oh yeah. So a guy all by himself definitely carried 3,000 pounds of equipment up, the 70 floors, 100%.
Without a single bit of CCTV evidence.
Yeah, no CCTV. No, it's just just what you do, isn't it? Like.
But anyway, just to finish off this bit, a scheduled preliminary hearing on January the 13th, 1992, Dahmer pleaded guilty but insane to 15 counts of murder. And there you go. Murder. So there we go. We're up to the trial now, so that begins shortly. So do you want to take over there?
Here's the thing with the insanity. They have to prove that you, don't have a sense of right and wrong. And he knew it was wrong because he tried to cover it up.
Yeah.
Cliff tried the same thing, did he though? Because they were all over his fucking house, weren't they?
He didn't. He did. He tried. He put some bits in the kettle, as we know, and which I'm a little bit disappointed that it hasn't been mentioned in this article.
I'm disappointed I haven't found any evidence of the dick in the kettle.
Yeah, even though we know it was there.
Do they mean kettle or do they mean pan? Because it is yank they're talking, isn't it?
Either any kitchen object would be funny to put the dick in.
They just won't tell us where the penises were, will they?
A pot, a pan, anywhere. Just tell us about it.
I think our first album should be called "Dick in the Kettle."
Yeah. When
that's a prog rock album.
Session the other night, Dick in the Kettle.
I can play bass.
But Dick in the Kettle, their first album was good, but their second album went downhill a bit, and then they disbanded, didn't they?
How did they do with the difficult third album?
Was it Ed Gein who generally his murder victims? He turned their skulls into bowls and fucking musical instruments.
Ed Gein murdered. Did he murder 2 women? I don't think he even murdered 3 women. What Ed Gein did was he robbed corpses from fresh graves. So he had the nipple belt, didn't he? And the dress made of human skin.
Ed
Gein was the existential massacre inspiration. He was making furniture.
He was the purple lackey of
He was the inspiration for the house, but that was about it, wasn't it? Because he wasn't.
I think Psycho as well.
Mass murderer, was he?
I think Psycho as well. They say he was the inspiration for that.
Yeah.
No. Ed Gein was. He was really fucked up looking. We should do an Ed Gein episode.
Are you injecting alcohol tonight?
He's boofing. He's boofing out alcohol, Dom, because you've got very drunk very quickly.
No.
Why drink this bottle of vodka when I could smoke it?
I had a lot.
Have you been drinking at work?
Yes. I finished work at 3. I've been drinking since.
Yeah.
Is the English language a struggle for you right now? Are you having a focus on it?
Interdimensional Lizard said it sounds like Dom's been drugged by Dahmer. You've been out on the beer with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Have you had hydrochloric acid injected into your
I think I'm alright for Jeffrey Dahmer's.
As Damien says, all the gay talk reels in the bots on the algorithm. Gein and Dahmer, both German names. Damien's noticed.
Interesting.
I looked up the other day. That guy who fucking wore tinfoil and oranges on his head, and then just broke into random people's houses and shit.
Who was that?
And then,
oh, you mean who were we talking about? Richard Chase the other day, weren't we? The Milwaukee, not the Sacramento vampire.
Yeah, we were laughing our arse off at how fucking weird he was.
He's a fucking strange geezer, he was.
But he did some awful shit. Like, he literally walked into someone's house and killed an entire family, including a young baby. But
he
like,
did, and he did think his blood was turned into powder in his veins, and the only way he could fix it was by drinking blood.
Something like that, yeah.
Apparently, he also smelled like gone off milk, didn't he?
Yeah. And he used to wear an orange as a hat, so he could absorb the nutrients or something.
Yeah, that would work. I can see how that works, yeah.
He believed that his... Yeah, and it was... I think someone told him it was a good idea to stop taking his meds.
But,
he was literally, like, taking meds, so...
Orange...
He turned himself into a Marvel villain before he took action.
How can you make an orange into a hat? I'm not sure. You balance it on your head, but
he wore an orange on his head and would just sit around in his fucking room going,
absorb this is how insane Richard Chase was. He wore it on his head.
Blood's turning to powder. I need to. I don't know. Yeah, should we do the trial? Dahmer's trial began on January 92. He was tried in Milwaukee for 15 counts of first-degree murder before Judge Lawrence Graham. By pleading guilty on January 13 to charges brought against him. Funny date that. That was the Jan 13. That was in 2021 when a bunch of people walked into a building.
January the 6th.
I don't know. Dahmer had waived his rights to a trial to establish guilt as defined in Wisconsin law. Attorneys at Dahmer's trial debated whether he suffered from either a mental or personality disorder. The prosecution claimed that any disorders did not deprive Dahmer of the ability to appreciate the criminality of his conduct, or to deprive him of the ability to resist his impulses. The defense argued that Dahmer suffered from a mental disease, I think, and was driven by impulses he was unable to control.
Creative.
Yeah, he's creative.
It was just artistic, that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, it's like, obviously he's got mental disease, but he still knows what he's doing is wrong. Defense experts argued that Dahmer was insane due to his necrophilic drive.
Even though he said he wasn't necrophilic. He himself said he wasn't necrophilic.
His compulsion to have sexual encounters with corpses. Sang more. Defense expert Dr. Fred Berlin tested that Dahmer was unable to conform his conduct at the time that he committed the crimes due to his paraphilia, or more specifically necrophilia. Dr. Judith Becker, a professor of psychiatry and psychology, was the second expert witness for the defense. Becker diagnosed Dahmer as a necrophiliac, although she added Dahmer had informed her he preferred comatose sexual partners to deceased ones.
That makes sense. They'll be warmer, won't they?
I'd rather have most of the time.
Not as stiff.
Yeah. The final defense expert to testify, forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carl Wallstrom, diagnosed Dahmer with necrophilia, borderline personality disorder, schizotypal personality disorder, alcohol dependence, and a psychotic disorder. On February 8th, Dr. Fred Fostel testified on behalf of the prosecution. Fostel testified to his belief that Dahmer was without mental disease or defect at the time he committed the murders. He described Dahmer as a calculating and cunning individual, able to differentiate between right and wrong, with the ability to control his actions, and whose lust overpowered his morals.
I don't care how calculated and cunning you are. You are not going to live in an apartment with rotting fucking bodies and a knob in the kettle, are you? If you're fine, if you're doing okay.
No.
I really want to skip to his death though.
We'll get there.
Well, I'm having a look. Once we finish this section, you've got closing arguments and conviction, which are probably boring. But then imprisonment and death. And considering we go 15 minutes, I think we should then go on to that very shortly, and then we can cover the knob in the kettle as well. We've got to do that. That's the best part of it.
Yeah.
I think we should go on to it so we can discuss it.
Otherwise,
so should we just say? We'll sum this bit up. So we'll just say the defense said he was a nutter, and the prosecution said he wasn't, for no reason.
Yeah, bloody blah, all legal shit.
Yeah,
which is boring.
Dietz, some guys are called Dietz, noted that Dahmer strongly identified with the villains of The Exorcist 3 and Return of the Jedi.
So, like, I've got a cock in the kettle. I'm basically a possessed girl, and also Darth Vader.
Yeah, Darth Vader. He had a knob in the kettle.
I'm like the Emperor. He had a knob in his kettle. You see it?
But anyway,
what we gonna do? Imprisonment.
Let's just discuss.
Yeah, go on.
Do you think nutter or what? I mean, if he wasn't a nutter, you could probably blame the drink. But I don't know. Just living with rotting corpses alone means that you've got to be not all there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But he had the urge, but some people do.
We've all gotten pissed, gone out to a gay bar, brought several black men back to our houses, chopped them up, lived with the corpse for a little bit, but, it's just because you got BPD, innit?
Some people do that.
Build an altar to yourself and your own power out of the bodies. Just perfectly normal.
Oh.
So
I think it's just like.
So Dahmer was actually.
Childhood
go on then, Tom.
Experiences equals entertainment.
Get on
Dahmer
to
was,
imprisonment.
There's a couple of bits I just want to add in.
Yeah,
Dahmer was ruled to be sane and not suffering from a mental disorder at the time of each of the 15 murders.
Yeah. Even if he wasn't sane, it's judged by the media, isn't it? Trial by media. So same with Sutcliffe. He pleaded insanity, but they weren't going to have that. He had to go to prison, wasn't it? That's what the public wanted, so that's where he went.
Well,
but anyway,
you could argue for that. I just think the wallowing in the shit and filth and the dead bodies and the keep randomly putting heads in your fridge. That's a bit because at least oh god, I'm morally relativizing Sutcliffe versus Dahmer now, but Sutcliffe, you could be sane and just have a thing against prostitutes, couldn't you? If you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, but no, he was just a psychopath, and prostitutes were the easiest target, wasn't it? So
exactly. It's like you can see that, but I just can't understand them judging Dahmer as sane.
But he had nothing to lose. He had quite a shit life anyway, by the sound of it. So, working in the biscuit factory and living with his nan all the time.
Well, I think he probably could have done all right. But it's probably the smell of shit from his mum who was
when he was
high on laxative.
When he was really young, when he first killed that guy. When he first killed that guy, I think it was at his house who was going to that concert. Didn't he? He clubbed him over the head. From behind and then masturbated over the corpse.
Yeah.
So I think it was always a bit of a wrong one.
Yeah, exactly. That's not sane behaviour, is it?
No, not really.
But Sutcliffe used to do that with his special wanking trousers that he designed, didn't he?
Raping trousers, weren't they? I thought.
He didn't rape them; he wanked on them. So he didn't. Same
with Jeffrey Dahmer. It's kind of like He had a abandonment issue. So
I know. So he's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was fucked from the start. So it was like
he was always going to go down the wrong route. Yeah. It was going to end up in the shit. Anyway, I think let's go. If there's nothing else to add there, let's go on to the imprisonment and death.
Yeah.
All right. Shall I run through this?
What was his what was his sentence? What did he get?
Yeah. Well, life obviously. He didn't get. He didn't
do closing arguments and conviction because it's short.
Yeah, go on then. Run through that.
But yeah, okay, so basically, so they said they agreed he had a mental disease, blah blah blah. But it was a sickness he discovered, not chose. Said he was a desperately lonely and profound sick individual, so out of control he could not conform to his conduct anymore. The defense counsel's 75-minute closing argument, they described him as a sane man in full control of his actions who simply strove to avoid detection. They described Dahmer as a calculating individual who killed to control his victims and retain their bodies merely to afford himself a prolonged period of sexual pleasure. He argued that by pleading guilty but insane to the charges, Dahmer was seeking to escape responsibility for his crimes. And then the conviction...
Shit, long time.
So, in this statement, Dahmer emphasized... Oh yeah, so we kind of skipped out. So he said... the murders were the result of pent-up aggression within himself. He killed those men because he wanted to kill the source of his homosexual attraction to them. In killing them, he had killed what he hated in himself. And they said he had severe mixed personality disorder with antisocial, obsessive-compulsive, sadistic, fetishistic, borderline, and necrophilic features, but otherwise...
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah.
He had the lot then.
He said he was not psychotic. He was amiable, pleasant to be with, courteous, had a sense of humour, conventionally handsome, and charming in manner. He was and still is a bright young man.
GSOH.
Yeah, he's got a bright
GSOH. It sounds like a dating profile, not conventionally handsome.
It's like a dating. He diagnosed Dahmer with a personality disorder not otherwise specified, featuring borderline obsessive compulsive and sadistic traits. So then so the verdict, skipping out a little bit. So he goes, in a statement, Dahmer emphasized that he had never desired freedom following his arrest and that he frankly wished for his own death. He further stressed that none of his murders had been motivated by hatred, that he understood that nothing he either said or did could undo the terrible harm he had caused to the families of his victims in the city of Milwaukee, and that he and his doctors believed his criminal behavior had been motivated by mental disorders. Dahmer added that this medical knowledge had given him some peace, and that although he understood that society would never forgive him, he hoped God would. Dahmer closed his statement with, "I know my time in prison will be terrible, but I deserve whatever I get because of what I have done. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm prepared for your sentence, which I know will be the maximum. I ask for no consideration." He then returned to his seat to await formal sentencing. Dahmer was then sentenced to life imprisonment plus 10 years upon the first 2 counts. The remaining 13 counts carried a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment plus 70 years. The death penalty was not an option for Judge Graham to consider at the penalty phase, as Wisconsin had abolished capital punishment in 1853.
Jammy Bladery just squeaked in.
Upon hearing of Dahmer's sentencing, his father Lionel and stepmother Shari requested to be allowed a 10-minute private meeting.
I hope she laid off the laxatives when she went to see him in that small room.
When he was transferred to the Columbia Correctional Institute in Portage to begin his sentence. This request was granted, and the trio exchanged hugs and well-wishes before Dahmer was escorted away. Yeah, good luck, you sick fuck. 3 months after his conviction in Milwaukee, Dahmer was extradited to Ohio to be tried for the murder of his first victim, Stephen Hicks. In a court hearing lasting just 45 minutes, Dahmer again pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to a 16th term of life imprisonment on May 1st, 92.
It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Imprisonment and death. Upon sentencing, Dahmer was transferred to the Columbia Correctional Institution. For the first year of his incarceration, Dahmer was placed in solitary confinement due to concerns for his physical safety should he come into contact with fellow inmates. With Dahmer's consent, after a 1 year in solitary confinement, he was transferred to a less secure unit, where he was assigned a 2-hour daily work detail cleaning the toilet block. Shortly after completing his lengthy confessions in 91, Dahmer had requested to Detective Murphy that he be given a copy of the Bible. This request was granted, and Dahmer gradually devoted himself to Christianity and became a born-again
Have you
Christian.
noticed how many of these people fucking find Christianity after they've murdered someone and they've been put in prison?
Or Islam.
Or Islam.
Yeah, in the UK, usually Islam. But I think that's more like, I don't think they actually believe it. Like, yeah.
They just get better food, don't they? They do it because they get better food in prison.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I'm a Muslim when I'm in prison. Following Dahmer's baptism, Ratcliffe visited, shortly after his lengthy confessions in 91, Dahmer requested Detective I read them. On his father's urging, he also read creationist books from the Institute for Creation Research. In May 94, Dahmer was baptized by Roy Ratcliffe, a minister in the Church of Christ and a graduate of Oklahoma Christian University, in the prison whirlpool. Following Dahmer's baptism, Ratcliffe visited him on a weekly basis up until 94. Dahmer and Ratcliffe regularly discussed the prospect of death, and Dahmer questioned whether he was sinning against God by continuing to live. Referring to his crimes in the 94 interview with Stone Phillips on Dateline, NBC.
Yeah, he did a TV interview, didn't he?
Oh yeah, I thought it was like a dating show or something. Like,
no, Dateline is like it's like Panorama.
Our next hot young bachelor is a gay man with a penchant for body parts.
Dahmer stated, if a person doesn't think there is a God to be accountable to, then what's the point of trying to modify your behavior to keep it within acceptable ranges? That's how I thought anyway.
Well, you didn't think it.
On July 3rd,
living in your flat, did you, pal?
Yeah, exactly. 94, fellow inmate Osvaldo Dorothy attempted to slash Dahmer's throat with a razor embedded in the toothbrush as Dahmer sat in the prison chapel after the weekly church service was concluded. Dahmer received superficial wounds and was not seriously hurt in this incident. According to Dahmer's family, he had long been ready to die and accepted any punishment which he might endure in prison. In addition to his father and stepmother maintaining regular contact, Dahmer's mother, Joyce, also maintained regular contact with her son prior to his arrest. The two had not seen each other since Christmas 1983.
Do you think some of these people just can't cope living in the real world? Because you usually find once they get caught and it's all over, they kind of come to their senses and start acting like normally, don't they?
It is weird, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
It gives them a bit of structure.
Yeah.
Dahmer's mother, Joyce, related in her weekly phone calls, whenever she expressed concerns for her son's well-being, Dahmer responded with comments to the effect of, "It doesn't matter, Mum. I don't care if something happens to me." Death
it's
on the morning.
It's Dom's bit, but I think he's passed out. Oh no, yeah.
He's offline.
He's gone.
He'd slur through it, I think.
Yeah, well, anyway, let's just finish up with the death, and that should be it. Yeah.
On the morning of November 28, 94, Dahmer left his cell to conduct this assigned work detail. Accompanying him were two fellow inmates, Jesse Anderson and Christopher Scarver. The trio were left unsupervised in the showers of the prison gym for approximately 20 minutes. At approximately 8:10.
That was planned, wasn't it? You don't leave someone like that alone for 20 minutes, do you? Unless you know what's going on. The guards had to have known what was going on there.
Yeah. At approximately 8:10 in the morning, Dahmer was discovered on the floor of the bathrooms of the gym, suffering from extreme head wounds. He had been severely bludgeoned about the head and face with a 20-inch, 51-centimeter metal bar.
I think it was
his head
it was a dumbbell bar. It was a dumbbell bar, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. His head had been repeatedly struck against the wall in the assault. Although Dahmer was still alive and was rushed to a nearby hospital, he was pronounced dead 1 hour later. Anderson had been beaten with the same instrument and died 2 days later from his wounds. Scarver, who was serving a life sentence for a murder committed in 1990, informed authorities he had first attacked Dahmer with the metal bar as Dahmer was cleaning a staff locker room. before attacking Anderson, as Anderson cleaned an inmate locker
As a
room.
bit of an aside, the geezer Jesse Anderson, the Anderson couple went to a movie and dinner at TGA Fridays outside the Northridge Mall in northwest Milwaukee. After dinner, Jesse stabbed Barbara 5 times in the face and head, then stabbed himself 4 times in the chest. Though most of his wounds were superficial, Barbara went into a coma and died from her wounds 2 days later.
Oh, so he was fucking mental as well.
Yeah, he was the wrong one.
Because the Netflix show shows that it goes all woke. It tries to say that Scarver basically like cornered him alone in a locker room and is like, this is retribution from God. It doesn't say no, he killed 2 of them at like the same time. Like 2 inmates.
I wouldn't be surprised because Scarver's black. I wouldn't be surprised if that was racially motivated, the Dahmer murder.
Yeah. So before, according to Scarver, Dahmer did not yell or make any noise as he was attacked. Immediately after attacking both men, Scarver, who was thought to be schizophrenic, returned to his cell and informed the prison guard, God told me to do it. Jesse Anderson and Jeffrey Dahmer are dead. Scarver was adamant he had not planned the attacks in advance, although he later divulged to investigators he had concealed the 20-inch iron bar used to kill both men in his clothing shortly before the killings.
Well, Scarver was a trainee carpenter. He was told that he weren't going to get the carpentry job, and he was dismissed. And as a result, Scarver's full-time position never materialised. This resulted in Scarver drinking heavily, and while in a drunken state, he began to hear voices calling him the chosen one. He was later diagnosed with schizophrenia and said to have been suffering from messianic delusions. He got sent to prison for killing someone called Steve Lohman. So he went to the Wisconsin Conversation Corps training program office, found site manager John Fayen and employee Steve Lohman, forcing Lohman down at gunpoint. Scarver demanded money from Fayen. Upon receiving only $15 from him, the enraged Scarver shot Lohman once in the head, killing him. And then he shot at the other guy and missed him.
Oh, okay.
Scarver.
Yeah, because in the Netflix show, they try and say, he's like saying, "Oh, it's divine retribution for killing those black homosexuals."
I wouldn't be surprised if it was, because Scarver himself was black. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a racial motivation for it.
But it sounds like what he did was just like kill those 2 guys, like just on a whim. I don't know. Dahmer's mother Joyce responded angrily to the media. Now is everybody happy? Now that he's bludgeoned to death, is that good enough for everyone? The response to the families of Dahmer's victims was mixed. Some celebrated the news, while others were saddened.
I don't think you could be saddened.
Catherine Lacey.
I don't think you could be saddened by it, but I don't
it was good news.
But I don't think it's right that other inmates should be allowed to conduct death penalties. It's crazy, isn't it? If you let shit like that happen, like of course you're gonna have anarchy in prisons, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. Catherine Lacey, the mother of the victim, Oliver Lacey, remarked, "The hurt is worse now because he's not suffering like we are." The district attorney who prosecuted Dahmer cautioned against turning Scarver into a folk hero, saying that Dahmer's death was still a murder. On May 15th, 1995, Scarver was sentenced to 2 additional terms of life imprisonment for the murders of Dahmer and Anderson. Dahmer had stated in his will that he wished for no services to be conducted and that he wished to be cremated. In September 95, Dahmer's body was cremated and his ashes. Apparently, they wanted to, like, when he died, they removed his brain and they wanted to send it to a university to study it, but I don't know if that's true.
They might have done.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, because you find out what went wrong there.
But basically, like in the Netflix show, it says the father argued against it and just said, just fucking let him, like, be gone or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, should have offered the father a few quid. I'm sure he would have changed his mind.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what they would have found, you know?
Ooh.
That was what went wrong with the Frankenstein monster, wasn't it? They accidentally put the brain of a criminal inside the monster.
I thought he dropped it. That's what went wrong.
Some films he does. There's this already. They've got two brains in the medical school.
Yeah.
A criminal's brain and a decent person's brain, so they can compare the two. So I don't think they look any different. Yeah. I don't think we got time for unexplained mysteries tonight, though, eh?
No, we'll do it. We'll
At least I think we've finished this one, have we not?
I think so. We'll probably do.
There's only one bit missing.
What's the dick in the?
There's only one bit missing, though, isn't it? Yeah. What happened to that? That was all the talk.
It was found, weren't it, in the kettle?
Yeah. Anyway, so always check your kettles before boiling the water, people at home, because you never know what you might find in it.
Put a willy in it.
Yeah, Dahmer might be up to his tricks again.
Don't say Jeffrey Dahmer 3 times in the mirror, otherwise he'll put a dick in
this tea tastes a bit salty, doesn't it?
Wise words. Anyway,
has the milk gone off? There's the milk gone off. The tea is tasting a bit sour.
Oh dear, disgusting. Right, are we done for tonight then?
Filthy. We are.
Night all.
Been a good show.
Night all. Stay spooky.